statutory authority to appoint the chief officers Just a moment, Madam Speaker. I want to show you, you can turn to our volume 3, or maybe I can just show you. Our volume 3, it's a small bundle with a green cover. The appointment of county chief officers. Governor, you will agree with me on 45, section 45. It reads as follows, that whenever a vacancy arises in the office of the county chief officer, the respective governor shall within 14 days nominate qualified and experienced county chief officers from among persons competitively sourced and recommended by the County Public Service Board, and with the approval of the county assembly, appoint county chief officers. You agree? That is the law. That is the law, Governor. You agree?
Council, I agree.
Very well, very well, very well, Madam Governor. So, have you presented a valid authority before this House to show that you could validly delegate your authority to the county secretary to appoint this chief officer on your behalf?
The acting chief.
Is there an authority? Is there an authority, Madam Governor?
Council,
from your documents.
Let me explain, Council.
Is there an authority? Yes or no?
These acting
Madam Governor, is there an authority?
Are
Madam Governor,
in the same
they want a yes or no answer. Just answer. Whether you.
No one has been sourced from outside. These are directors at acting capacity awaiting substantive.
I think, Madam Speaker, I leave the Senate to draw a conclusion on that question. Madam Governor, you can turn with me to page 68 of our volume 2. And for purposes of clarity, in your exam in chief, you stated that you did not travel to China, correct?
Yes.
You never traveled to China?
I never.
Did you seek clearance to travel to China?
Yes.
You sought clearance?
Yes.
But you never traveled?
Yes.
Okay. The document on page 68 says, and the question is, the persons in the letter that is signed by the county secretary makes reference to following the invitation of the governor of Meru County, the following technical team. The wording is technical team, correct?
Yes.
And turn with me to page 86. In that letter, you can see your name listed there as part of the persons who were supposed to travel to China, correct?
Yes.
Though you never did.
I never did.
So, because, Madam Governor, your defense is that your relatives traveled as part of an advance team, yet in the letter of 5th June 2023, we see that you tried to obtain clearance on the same day. Were they traveling as part of an advanced team of another team that was to come if you are in the same letter with them seeking clearance? Is that defense consistent with what we see on page 86?
Yes, it is.
Fair enough. And at page 87, Madam Governor, we see a Mr. Nefat Kenyu Meme, whose title is designated as Director External Linkages, correct?
Yes.
And in your testimony, you say that he was an office administrator in the office of the governor.
Yes, and later moved to act in the external leakages.
And let her move to?
External leakages acting director.
Okay. Was he competitively recruited by the board in order for him to act? Okay, not competitively recruited. Let me rephrase, Madam Speaker, I'm sorry. Was he formally appointed by the board, County Public Service Board, in order for him to act as a director external linkages? Was he?
He was
Yes or no?
He was an employee of county government.
Was he appointed formally by the County Public Service Board in that acting capacity? Was he?
By the county public service board?
Yes.
No.
He was not.
But by the county secretary?
By the county secretary?
Yes.
And in that advisory that I just showed you in our bundle, in that advisory by the County Public Service Board, it says that all appointments, whether acting or substantive, in all levels of the County Public Service are the exclusive responsibility, statutory responsibility of the County Public Service Board. Is that not a violation of the law, Madam Governor?
It depends with the county secretary.
Does it depend on the county secretary or what the law says? Is it a matter of discretion? Or it is a matter of about compliance with what the law says?
The county secretary council cannot do this minus any law guiding him to do this.
So what is the law then that supports your position?
That's why I want some 2 minutes to get exactly why the county secretary has power to have a director to act for some few months awaiting substantive recruitment of a chief officer.
Again, Madam Speaker, I leave the Senate to draw the necessary conclusion. In the interest of time, Madam Speaker. Madam Governor, I'll refer you to the screenshots from pages 149 of our volume 2. In your defense, you state that you're the foremost peacemaker in Meru County, correct?
Yes?
In your defense is that you're the foremost peacemaker in Meru County, correct?
I'm the
Foremost peacemaker.
Yes.
The timestamp appearing on the screen grab at page 149 is on 20th of May, 2023, at the top, correct?
Yes.
Long before the impeachment motion was tabled.
It depends.
Between May and October 16th, how many months? Roughly 4 months, actually.
Yes.
Correct? And before May 20th is before the videos you played here of the parties withdrawing your support from you. Correct?
Yes.
And on this page, Madam Governor, we see your Chief of Staff removing, the screenshots are provided by the Deputy Governor for information. Your Chief of Staff removed him from this WhatsApp group. You will agree? At least you were a member of that group. You saw that, correct?
I'm a member.
Who are the other members of the group?
So many, I don't know the number, but so many members.
Including members of the public?
Yes.
As per your defense. And at pages 155 in the other group, you can turn with me to 155. We also see that the Honorable Mutia, Chief Officer, removed the Deputy Governor from this group, which is on May 27th, correct?
Yes.
And in the interest of time, I'll refer you to page 160. There's a screen grab of your message about Kuchoma Jeshi that you are referred to by your counsel, correct?
Yes.
And your most disturbing message on page 163 a transcript of which, Madam Speaker, is on page is on page 446 of our volume 2, correct? Madam Governor, where you say, and DG mobilized fuel levy.
Yes.
Can you read that aloud, that message?
Yes, I can see the message.
I want you to read it aloud.
I can see it's Kitabun Kanata who was copy pasted again.
Oh, turn to page 163 where it's Governor Mwangaza. One page, 163.
Where is Governor Mwangaza here?
On the top. Where's the message, Governor?
Okay. And the DG mobilized fuel levy.
Okay.
I continue.
Yes, continue.
Pamwe pagashwa urea pakamia mbira ya mbokando ukabaigwa.
Okay. What did you mean, Governor, by those words?
I meant that the DG mobilized fuel levy,
Okay.
as you saw in the clip.
I did not see, but go on.
As we saw in
No, just proceed, Governor. I'm not a witness.
Then I said, some will try to see things easy according to the proverb, and they will get hard way.
You will?
They will get hard way.
Madam Speaker, the correct translation is on page 446. I don't want to spend much time on it because it seems the governor will not as
It's a proverb. In the real sense, how do you have birembo?
No harm, Madam Governor, no harm. And this was way before that video by the DG. That was way before.
No.
When was this message written?
It was after.
You see, Madam Governor, we can follow through all the way from May 20th to May 27th, correct? When the DG was removed from the group. And the video that you played here by the DG was on 20th September.
And this WhatsApp group, you get a message and then you repost again using the same message.
So are you saying you reposted this message after 20th September?
Not myself, but the person who is Seneti Kumurika.
No, but Madam Governor, it is your message. I'm not concerned with the message by Seneti Kumurika. I'm talking about your message. I'm talking about your message. So after 20th September, you still reposted this message, despite having posted it before.
Yes, it was after the verification by the deputy.
You have posted this message twice. That is what you're saying. You cannot have it both ways, Madam Governor.
After the verification.
And Madam Governor, turn to page 170, where you make reference to the DG. Please read the message aloud. They want him to recover what?
Yeah. They want him to recover what? Tosho invested every kuweka jina kwa ballot paper is investment worth CEC finance surely, and gratefulness is a curse. Results coming up.
Governor, I will tell you, so that I move away from that issue, that the message at page 174, where you malign your deputy, the message at 176.
What about this one that I've just read?
And the message at 179 are all inconsistent with your theme that you are the foremost peacemaker in Meru County. True or correct? True or false?
False.
Okay, let us move. Madam Speaker, at this point I'll request the Secretary to play video in support of country video number 3A.
Secretariat, you got it? Which one, Council?
3A.
3A. Display
3A, yes.
3A. What's happening?
Madam Speaker, maybe can my time stop running as he prepare?
Technical staff, what's happening? Did you say 3A?
3A, 3 yes, Madam Speaker.
Is there a problem with 3A? Council, are you able to go to another question as they prepare? Or
Madam Speaker, at this point, I wanted
process?
the videos to be played in quick
Okay.
succession,
Okay.
in the interest of time, so that I ask the questions that all the 4 videos have been played.
Who submitted that video? Is it a flash disk?
Yes, we submitted 3 flash disks
It is by a county assembly or
by the County Assembly, Madam Speaker.
the clip by county assembly?
Yes, yes, in our videos. Our video
And it
number.
is in which flash disk?
It is, I don't remember the model, but it is.
The team county assembly, can you kindly assist? 3A.
Yes, it is video number 3A. Video, the folder is videos in support of count 3, and it is 3A inside the folder.
Okay, technical team, are you able to get that?
kuthithia ientukira ntenda kuga kinya no tuimbije baiteni dairwa iri national keri na toba bingi nationally gentukira mutuma kuthithia into kira antenda kuga kinya no tuimbije baite ni dairwa iri national iti kerina to babingi nationally mutumaga kumira thani ira kurira bwana Peter.
Madam Speaker, I request that video number 3 be played.
Is that the one?
That is 3, yes. I want 3B to be played. I want all of them to be played.
Vanchuria ndari la medo bijadira mukamati okabo ya kyamba mbaka ko byo umageta pena kyanga kengina kyo bakaise kama koroga mulungu akalinga 20-0 na ndiba okanebele tuekuja tuteku ayekelele ndari akobia kakana o patato makiria ba indi da dirigare oyo batoera na tulianda 2027 ngokeche muntu chialie kote umuntu amba wetondereria na are antereretie
For the purpose of this impeachment.
It has been photocopied. Very well. Madam Speaker, I believe 6 minutes. I will yield them to my colleague, Mr. Muriuki.
Madam Speaker, Honorable Senators, my name is Muriuki. And I shall continue from where my colleague has left. And to save on time, I will refer to page 409 of our volume 2. Page 409 of volume 2. Are you there?
Yes.
Confirm that that is the official county Facebook page.
Yes.
Confirm that the confirm that that is your Facebook page.
Yes.
And you're talking about the traffic marshals.
Yes.
On page 392 of volume 2 still, 392, volume 2, you are there? 392 of volume 2. The board, the County Public Service Board, page 392. Please save my time. I don't have much of it. 392 of volume 2. Are you there?
Yes.
The board has not employed any traffic marshals in the county public service. That is the item numbered 1.
It has not employed.
That is page 392. Can you see the item numbered 1?
Yes.
We see on page 409 and page 411, you appointing the traffic marshals and the board denying that appointment on page 392. That is correct, right?
Yes. But if not,
Thank you. Now, I will refer you to our volume 4, page 150. Our volume 4, kindly. Volume 4. Page 150.
Council, you'll have to hurry up. You hardly have any minute.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to beg your indulgence, remembering that the Secretariat took quite a number of minutes trying to get the video. So I humbly request that you accord me just 5 more minutes and I'll be done.
Council, I'll accord you 3 minutes to make up. You might also want to expedite when you are guiding.
Page 150, volume 4. On the 3rd paragraph, you will confirm that that is an extract of the Hansard of the Meru County Assembly. Honorable senators can also confirm. And you will confirm, Governor, that your advocate on record for that day admitted that you appointed the traffic marshals since they were in your manifesto. That is the 3rd paragraph. I have underlined the relevant parts. Can you please read for us the underlined part?
the voters in Meru accepted the manifesto.
Or your deputy should not be paying any bills or asking for any budgetary allocation.
On the day naming The deputy governor is paying his bills. He has been assigned duties. He has not been assigned duties by the governor. Why is he paying? To do which duties? Which bills is he paying? Because we have four
Thank you.
types of bills.
Thank you. Thank you. Which duties has he been assigned? That is what your counsel on record asked. My final question, I will refer you to page 339 of our volume 2.
Council, please wind up.
Final question, Madam Speaker. 339, volume 2.
Council, your time is up.
My final question, I was waiting for the governor to get the page, Madam Speaker. On that page, who has made that post?
It is I.
Owning the changes in the saga, that is the liquor board, the revenue board, and the liquor board and the revenue board more specifically, correct?
Press release.
Thank you. From you. Therefore, Madam Governor, you cannot run away from the letters on page 336, 337, and 338 of the same volume, which sends these officers on compulsory leave with full payment that you have already owned in your own press release. Am I right?
You are not right.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm done.
As the team for County Assembly prepares for re-examination, and we will be strict with time, Honorable Senators, I have a communication to make on the address to Parliament by His Excellency the President, pursuant to Article 132(1)(b) and (c) of the Constitution. Honorable Senators, as you may recall, on a sitting of the Senate held on Thursday, 2nd November 2023, I communicated of a request by His Excellency the President to deliver his inaugural address to Parliament in accordance with Article 132(1)(b) and (c) of the Constitution. This is therefore to remind you that His Excellency the President will deliver his inaugural State of the Nation address to Parliament during a joint sitting of the Houses of Parliament tomorrow, Thursday, 9th November 2023 at 2:30 p.m. in the National Assembly Chamber. Honorable members, to ensure a smooth flow of motor traffic and to ensure that preparations towards facilitation of this event are well carried out, parking for members of Parliament has been reserved at Comesa parking lot in KICC and the parking lot next to the County House on Parliament Road. All vehicles parked around main Parliament buildings, that's the rear gate, canteen area, parliamentary courtyard, and at the Senate parking, should be removed by close of business today, Wednesday, 8th November 2023. Your cooperation on this matter is highly appreciated. I thank you. Now, to the County Assembly team, you have 20 minutes for re-examination. If you take 15, we will be grateful.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will do it in less than 15 minutes. Let us begin from where you have left on the Facebook post regarding the changes in the liquor board? You have been told that you bear the responsibility of sending those individuals for compulsory leave because of your Facebook post. Are you looking at your Facebook post? You have the page with you?
Yes.
Madam Governor, why did you make that post? Is it because you had been part and parcel of the process of sending the employees on compulsory leave?
No.
Why did you make that post confirming the changes that had occurred?
I was notified that pending investigation by EACC, the county secretary and sent on compulsory leave the people mentioned here. And upon receiving the communication, they also say that they have appointed substantive, or they have appointed some people to hold the office pending investigations. So I posted, and you can see clearly that it's a press release that was given by the county secretary for me to release.
So your simple answer is that you communicated that which that had been done by the county secretary?
Yes, and
There-
this is the former county secretary that was there.
Did you
in the second regime?
confirm to us that this was barely a week after you were sworn in office?
Yes, barely a week.
Did you have any particular reason to have any grudges to send these individuals for compulsory leave?
No, there are issues with investigation according to the county secretary.
Thank you. A lot of Ulabalu has been advanced in respect of what is said to be appointment of officers in an acting capacity. To the best of your knowledge, the letter that you have been shown at page 335, is it a letter of appointment?
No,
What is it?
advisory on transfers and appointments.
Confirm to us that that advisory is from the County Public Service Board to chief officers, not to the governor.
It is from County Public Service Board to Acting Chief Officer, Meru Public Service Board, and to chief officers.
Chief officers.
Yes.
So the advisory is targeting chief officers.
Yes.
I want you to read I want you to try and read the first paragraph of that letter so that we understand the import of the advisory.
Reference is made to a memo reference CGM/CS/IM/3/3 286 of 6th December 2022. 2022.
Okay, continue.
This advisory is to emphasize the message by the county secretary that the arbitrary transfers without due consultation with the CS office is discouraged at all times.
So then it is pursuant to a previous advisory by the county secretary
Yes,
targeting chief officers.
targeting chief officers.
Proceed.
CS office is discouraged at all times. Transfers and deployment should not be done as a form of reprimand. Staff transfer should address issues such as staff service balance, leave, and staff development, among other positive reasons, as guided by Section 43.
Thank you. So then, it cannot be said that that advisory was targeting the governor or the county secretary, because the advisory was from the county secretary himself.
Yes, I can see it is from the acting CEC, Meru County Public Service Board County Secretary, acting as County Secretary to all chief officers.
Thank you. So it is chief officers who are discouraged from those kind of deployments without consultation with the county secretary.
Yes.
So that cannot bar the county secretary from exercising his right.
Yes.
Thank you. We have also been told that the letter appearing at page 295, quickly let us look at that letter. Is a letter of employment. To the best of your understanding, what is the title of that letter?
Redeployment.
Redeployment. What is your understanding of redeployment?
Redeployment is taking one person from one department maybe to another one, or from one duty to another one.
Is employment done for many persons in one letter, or it is done individually, if it were really an employment?
This is done for so many people in one letter.
In one letter.
Yes.
Is any of those people a new person that is not yet working with the county government of Meru?
All these have been working since even 2016, 2015 as directors and other senior officers in the government of Meru.
Is there anywhere where the salaries or remuneration of those persons is mentioned?
There is nowhere that is mentioned.
Normally, a letter of employment would have their salaries.
Yes, it should be.
It would also have the terms of reference.
Yes.
Does that appear anywhere in that?
It doesn't appear.
It doesn't appear.
Yes.
So in your evidence, does that amount to employment?
It doesn't amount to employment.
Is there anything that bars the county secretary from making changes within inter-departments within the county?
Nothing bars the county secretary from doing redeployment.
Thank you. You have been referred to what is now being said to be monies that were not accounted for. And by that, council took you to page 13 of their documents to indicate that monies appearing in the infamy system were not accounted for. Page 2, page 13, and the total amount is said to be 2.7 million that were allegedly paid to Rose Kinyua Wantai.
Yes.
That is the line of cross-examination. Confirm to us that this document that appears from page 1 all through page 16 does not portray the IFMIS extract, but a mere complaint by one Salesio Mutuma.
This is a mere complaint by Duranira Salesio Mutuma.
The table that bears the total of 2.7 is not from the IFMIS extract, isn't it?
It is not from the IFMIS extract.
Thank you. When you look at the charges that you faced, was there anywhere where any specific amount was mentioned that was received by any of the people termed as your relatives that you are supposed to explain why they received such monies? Specifically, figures.
No specific figure.
Thank you. That will be all for this witness, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We now move on. And
perhaps I can ask just one more question with your leave,
Okay.
Madam Speaker. Thank you. So, Governor, then, what would you plead the Senate to do, having heard the case from the County Assembly, having given your evidence? What is it that you ask this Honorable House to do for you?
Madam Speaker, humbly I would request this Honorable House, a constitution, to see, as we have heard all the allegations that are labeled before me, I'm appearing as third, fourth, fifth party in all these accusations. It is my humble request that as you sit as judges, I'm forced to answer allegations that are done or some issues that are not directly involving the governor of Meru. In these allegations, there is nowhere, Honorable Madam Speaker, that I have signed any document nor delegated anyone to any person via the allegations tabled today before this Honorable Senate. Madam Speaker, today I don't count it as an unfortunate day for me, because at least the whole world have known the truth. I urge this Honorable Senate, honorable members, as you sit today, to consider and give justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and that will be the close of our case.
Thank you, Council. We now move on to the clarifications by senators, and I request that strictly we adhere to the 2 minutes so that we give as many senators opportunity. Maximum 2 minutes, and we begin with the Senator Sigei. This session will end at 7:50, as I had said earlier. Yeah, it's about 20 minutes. Senator Sigei, when you're done, please approach the bench.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I'm troubled with three things. I'll ask three clarifications, and this one is to the Council for the Governor, alias Mutuma. Number one, I want to get your response, in particular to the allegation with regards to a gentleman by the name Nefa, whose employment history dates back to 2016, Job Group H. In 2023, Act 13 Job Group R, and the document that we've been given appearing at page 384 of the County Assembly's bundle from which to get your responses, Council. 2. Witness number 3, I can't recall the name, is called Mr. Munene Nganata, sorry. At paragraph 13 of his affidavit, he made reference to employees whose positions, to the allegation with regards to a gentleman by the name Nefat, whose employment history dates back to 2016, employed at Job Group H. In 2023, Act 13 Job Group R, and the document that we've been given appearing at page 384 of the County Assembly's bundle from which to get your responses, Council. 2. Witness number 3, I can't recall the name, is called Mr. Munene Nganata, sorry. At paragraph 13 of his affidavit, he made reference to employees whose position as at the time of employment was cleaners, and a document which has been submitted as evidence before the House appearing at page 47 and 374. The responses that will clear my mind will probably be that coming from you, because what Mr. Nganata responded to as he was asked is not clear to me. And lastly, your position with regards to a number of videos which entertain this House on oathing. On the one hand, there was an element of some
Senator Sotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to direct this clarification to the Council for the County Assembly. Mr. Speaker, there seems to be some disparities in the document submitted by the County Assembly in relation to the invitation letter to China. The document submitted by the County Assembly on page 60 differs in content from the document submitted by the Governor on page 425 of the bigger document of evidence. But when you look at the two documents keenly, Mr. Speaker, the document for the County Assembly does not refer to the other assignments the county government went to do in China. That is housing and agriculture. But another document attached on page 68 of the County Assembly bundle confirms that actually housing and agriculture was one of the functions. So my concern, which I want clarification from the council for the County Assembly, is to explain the deviation in the two letters, the letter by the governor and the letter by the County Assembly, and explain to this house which letter is the correct letter to go with.
Council for the governor proceed to respond to the question as asked by Senator Sigei, and then the council for the county assembly, you will respond to the question raised by Senator Osotsi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. In answer to the question posed by Senator Sigei, my understanding of job grouping is that the position to which a person is appointed then dictates the job group they will fall to. So one would rise from one job group based on the new position that they have been given. Indeed, my understanding is that we've had chief officers appointed as CCMs, therefore necessitating the change of their job groups. That would be my simple answer to that question. I'll invite my friend, Mr. Mutembei, to answer the other question on the cleaners. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to respond to the question from Senator Sigei. The question was asking why some cleaners appear to be categorized as senior support staff in the pay slips that have been produced in the bundle of documents by the County Assembly. Although the witness, notwithstanding the fact that the witness confirmed that the pay slips cannot be authenticated, it is the position that cleaners are actually support staff. And cleaners would be categorized as senior support staff based on their salary. If you look at the pay slip that has been produced, the one that appears as senior support staff is earning a basic salary of 18,000, and that is in tandem with the role of a senior support staff. That would be the simple answer. Thank you.
Council for County Assembly.
Mr. Speaker, the question was as to discrepancies between the letter at page 425 of the governor's bundle and the letter at page 60 of the Assembly's bundle. It is indeed true, Mr. Speaker, that there are discrepancies, and that's why we have kept telling you the governor has forged the document she has presented to you, and here's why. If you check the document at page 60 of the Assembly's bundle, you will note, Mr. Speaker, it bears the stamp of the county government, received by the county government on 25th of April. The one the governor has produced is not stamped by our own county government. That's one indication of what we call forging of documents. And if there is any other doubt, Mr. Speaker, when you go to page 68 of our Badu, the county secretary, when they wrote to the ministry, they attached the letter inviting them to China. And the letter the county secretary attached is the version that the county assembly has produced, and it is attached at page 69 of our Badu with the same stamp. And it is our submission, therefore, the governor must have forged this document, as we have been saying all along, at page 425 of our Badu.
Senator Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question goes to the governor. In relation to Okolea, so governor, who funds Okolea? And if you may, because it's in public domain, that the activities of Okolea were once banned by the Minister or CS for Interior, why, in your view, was it banned? Number two, Mr. Speaker, the image that has been portrayed of the relationship between the governor and the county assembly members has been very rosy, especially after the past impeachment proceedings. Governor, where and why did the rains start beating you, as in the relationship between you and the members of the county assembly? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Those are my questions.
Governor, proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Okolea program, as I said before, has been there for the last 12 years. It is purely funded by Baite Family Fellowship, where I'm the bishop. All the offerings that we get from the church, the pastors and the members of the church take all the money, buy blankets, mattresses. I also donate 50% of my salary towards the Okolea program. It is purely a program by the church and my family, funded by the donations made in our church, and my 50% contribution from my salary. The issue of banning the Okolea, it is just the other day when we had one at Igembe, where my deputy governor incited the youth, as you saw in the video, slaughtered the cow that was supposed to be donated to a poor woman. There was some chaos. And then from that event is where now the CS came and said, because of the unrest in Meru, he has to ban the Okolea until there is rest in Meru. It was not banned permanently. I think for his own wisdom, he decided and acted so that you get peace and continue as a church. It is purely a church program. From the day I left this Senate during the first impeachment, we've been working well with the county assembly members until the last 2 months, when people, external forces, tried or are trying to interfere with the leadership. just because of 2027 politics. That is the old truth. And as I stand here, I know that the members of County Assembly have no issues with the governor, apart from the external forces forcing them to cause a lot of confusion in Meru for those who have decided that they will run for the position of county governor to have space and have a route via the deputy governor or via making it that Meru doesn't work. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Hamida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Governor, I was just wondering, in the event that the Senate finds you that none of the allegations for the second time made against you have been substantiated, I'm just wondering what happens to the Meru County? How do you plan to work with the Deputy Governor who has been alleged, and of course you have stated and accused him of having planning to impeach you and also plotted all the current activities and impeachment. So how do you plan to work with them? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The first action, I believe prayer works. I will continue to pray for those that are a lot of appetite to become the governor. God to lower the appetite so that we have time to work with the people of Meru. Number two, the time we left this place again, it took us just a month for us to come together and start working. It is very possible, it is very doable that we can still mend all the differences and put Meru first rather than our own interest. As a woman of God, I will forgive everyone.
Thank you, Senator Karen Nyamu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to seek clarification from Madam Governor regarding allegations raised by the Council for the County Assembly regarding of the appointment of the chief officers. Section 42(2) of the County Government Act states clearly that the office of the chief officer shall be an office in the county public service. And at the same time, Section 44(3)(a) of the same Act indicates that the county secretary shall be head of that county public service. In consideration of these two provisions, Madam Governor, do you feel that your mandate in regard to the operations of the chief officer goes only up to nominating and appointing the chief officers on approval by the County Assembly? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As much as I would not like to interfere within your office, and I believe that's why there is a structure in the government and in all governments. The County Public Service Board has its own mandate. The County Secretary of Meru has his own mandate provided by the law, and I think it's prudent enough for them to act according to the law.
Senator Oburu.
Mr. Speaker, I withdrew my question because it is exactly the same as the one Honorable Amida had asked about the reconciliation between the governor and her deputy. If she was saved, would she be able to reconcile with her deputy?
Senator Mbugo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Madam Governor, having listened to you for 2 days and the other party, and having watched many videos, I would invite you as a CEO of the county to section 192 of the Supreme Laws of the Land, and I read it for you. Article 192.1. The President may suspend a county government, A, in an emergency arising out of internal conflict or war. As a CEO of Meru County, do you think it has reached there or there is a chance of reconciliation? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think we have not reached there. By doing that, we have killed the dreams of young men that are MCs today. We still have chance to unite and work together.
Now, honorable senators, that wraps up as far as this witness is concerned. Honorable senators, unless I gazette tomorrow as a sitting day, we will certainly overrun the runway. Looking at the time allocated here, if we lose just a minute, I will have to gazette tomorrow to be a date for us to sit to continue hearing this matter. It's about the time factor. We only have up to midnight. So it is about the time factor here. I give you an extra 10 minutes and we've messed it up. So for those that's why I was giving opportunity to those senators who've not spoken a word since we started, okay? So at this juncture, you can have a seat, His High Excellency, Governor Kawira.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Now, we are moving to a different session where we're going to have the closing remarks, closing statements from both sides. Now, each party will be given 1 hour to make their closing statement. You don't have to utilize the whole of the 1 hour. The maximum is 1 hour. If you can do less than that, the better, so that we can meet the midnight deadline. So, Council for the County Assembly of Meru, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As communicated yesterday in my opening, this is the third time we have an impeachment motion against the governor of Meru. And as I kept telling you, all through and through, from the time of the first impeachment motion to today, the governor's position has been that the problem is everybody else. To use our own words, she is the foremost peacemaker in Meru, even though I recall the Honorable Edwin Sifuna asking her last year, How do we reconcile the aggressive governor we see in the videos with the meek, humble, vulnerable governor that appears before the Senate? And I heard the Honorable Sifuna again ask yesterday something about for how long. The question was, for how long, Mr. Speaker, can we in good conscience allow Meru County to be in this perpetual circus of a crisis in which their governor, on average, every 4 months, has fallen out with the MCAs, has fallen out that time with all the elected leaders, the same problem now, that time with the church, now with our own deputy. And the point I'm trying to make, Mr. Speaker, it cannot be said, at least not honestly, that the Honorable Governor Kumurika Mwangaza is being falsely accused, is being harassed, is being intimidated, and whatnot, and whatnot. I have said many allegories, some of which have put me in trouble with the Senate. I'll tell you a few more, and hope this time I won't fall in trouble. Mr. Speaker, there is a famous book by Robert Greene, which I'm sure many of us here have read, called The 48 Laws of Power. And it describes many world events, many leaders, their successes, their failures, their mistakes, and whatnot. One of the stories I love in that book, because it is relevant to the matter before you, but also because of the event it describes and how it changed the world history. The world will be very different today. There will not be a Republic of Kenya today. Perhaps Britain and France would never have emerged as superpowers. In the 18th, 19th century, perhaps the United States would never have emerged. But for the failure of a leader in antiquity called Cyrus the Great to observe a simple rule of life called knowing when to stop. Mr. Speaker, it is our humble submission that if there was an impeachment motion in October last year, highlighting misconduct of the category now before you, that motion failed because, of course, the High Court stopped the Assembly from debating it. But the point I'm making is issues were flagged about how the governor was running Meru County in that motion. She persisted, as a result of which a second motion was tabled and it reached this house. She was given very many kind lessons. I recall yesterday citing lessons from the Honorable Senator Tobiko. I recall many lessons from the Honorable Senator Karungo, and indeed many other senators. And when we came again, just like today, the look was of that of a humble, meek, polite, Honorable Governor. And she promised, as she has just promised now, that if I recall our words, Meru will be a shining example in terms of good governance, in terms of calmness, in terms of everything good. Then, as they say in the medical world, people with conditions, sometimes they use a word called relapsing. The governor, after making that promise, and admittedly after the county enjoying brief moment of honeymoon, relapsed yet again to the very things that were in the first impeachment motion, to the very things that were in the second impeachment motion, and hence the reason we are before you for the third impeachment motion. Cyrus the Great, who is our lesson on leaders should know when to stop, when to change tact, when to turn a new leaf. Of course, we all know Cyrus the Great. The reason he is called the Great is that he was a great conqueror. He conquered the known world then, from Babylon to Mede to Achaemenids to Lydia. And basically, he was the ruler of the world as it was known then. But then there was one small country he discovered that didn't seem to be part of the known world, of a people called the Massageti. And instead of being content, he declares war on this country. For the record, Mr. Speaker, this country was actually led by a woman called Tomiris. And Tomiris, when Cyrus assembled his mighty army, Persia then was the superpower, assembled it on the river separating the boundaries of his empire with this small kingdom, was sent a message telling him, be content with your victories so far and the fact that you have conquered the world, and please stand, attempt to tolerate seeing me rule my small, miserable country with its little resources, with its small army, and don't attack. And he was warned in that letter that if he attacked, nothing good would come from it. Instead of learning when to stop, Cyrus insisted on a war. Tomiris told him, then if you insist on a war, I want peace. I will allow your forces to cross the river without any resistance, and will fight from my side of the border. On one condition, that will fight a conventional war. Cyrus agreed, but because he could never stand another leader enjoying any form of glory, just like our governor cannot stand an MP, an MCA, or anyone anywhere else in leadership, she must bring them down. Cyrus was obsessed with bringing down this little kingdom that, for no good reason other than his own vanity and his failure to know when to stop. So he pulls a trick, and we have seen many tricks on this podium of a meek, humble, vulnerable-looking governor who is a victim of very many things, whose defense is, it wasn't me, it was someone else. So Cyrus' trick involved throwing a lavish bash, and setting up the soldiers of this small kingdom to a drink, and then while they were inebriated, he massacred them, leaving only a few, and took the prince of that other small country as a prisoner of war. Even after this, the leader of the small country still offered him peace and told him, you broke the rule that it will be a conventional warfare and won by a trick. I still give you another chance to return my son, and will still declare peace. Cyrus refused, and the son, of course, of Queen Tomiris, unable to live with the indignity of being a prisoner of war, committed suicide. When the people of this small country heard that the crown prince had committed suicide, small as they were, weak as they were, vulnerable as they were, they organized a violent battle in which their army, which was about 100th of Cyrus's army, actually won the violent battle, and Cyrus himself was killed. Because of Cyrus' inability to know when to stop, Persia added as a superpower, and that is how Rome became the dominant country. And of course, the world and human civilization as we know it today is based on the Roman civilization. That's why he said, Mr. Speaker, there would have been no Britain, no France, no America, but for the mistake of one leader not knowing when to stop. Our greatest fear is that the history of Meru may take an irreversible, tragic path. We saw very violent slaughters of animals, threats of slaughtering people and whatnot, and we don't know, as I was telling you, as long as our governor keeps relapsing to these confrontations, when things will take a turn for the worse in a manner that is irreversible. Is it fair that the people of Meru live in this state of anxiety? For how long can we subject them to the situation that has now prevailed? Governor Kumurika Mwangaza, of course, will tell you she knows when to stop. The record is clear. You have seen the videos from our side. You have seen the videos from our side. It is clear. She will not stop. Of course, right now she will tell you she will stop because her career is on the line. But we know better. She will not. Mr. Speaker, a story is told about a frog and a scorpion and a swollen river. The scorpion couldn't swim and asked the frog, who is an amphibian and therefore capable of crossing the swollen river, to assist the frog to cross the river. And the frog tells the scorpion in the story, but you will sting me before we are done with crossing, and we'll both die and drown. And the scorpion promised, no, I can't do that, because if I were to sting you while you're carrying me on your back to cross this swollen river, we would both die, and because it would be mutual destruction, as the Americans and the Russians called it during the Cold War, I have no incentive. There is no rational reason why I would sting you. And poor frog bought this story, just like you're being invited to buy the story. I will pray for them. I'll forgive them. we only need a month. So Frog took Scorpion on his back, and Frog started swimming across the river, and right in the middle, Scorpion hoisted his tail and stung the frog. And of course, that poison disables the nervous system, and the frog couldn't swim, and they both started drowning. And Frog asks in the story, why did you sting? You promised that you won't sting. And you are also aware by you stinging, we would both be extinguished. And Scorpion gave Frog a simple answer. I stung because it is in my nature to sting. We are submitting to you, Mr. Speaker, with all the humility. Kawira Mwangaza keeps relapsing to these violations of the law and the Constitution and the vilification. We can call whatever the specifics we want. The reason she keeps relapsing back to the same thing is because, like that Scorpion in the story, it is in the nature of Kawira to sting. So even if you give her another chance, whether it is on account of pity, whether it is on account of sympathy, whatever the reason, she will sting again. And I swear, Mr. Speaker, there are no prophets in my family, but I can tell you, if you forgive her, she will sting again and will be back in this assembly. And the question is the one, therefore, asked by the Honorable Sifuna. For how long can we endure this embarrassment? Is it fair? I had the senator ask, do wars have consequences? Of course, wars have consequences. Wars have been fought because someone said words that they shouldn't have said. That's why there is an adage that says, speech is silver, silence is golden. Mr. Speaker, you were told kaende kaede means development and other nice things. I invite any of you because it's an open country. Kaende kaende is not an English word, it's not a Swahili word, it's not a native word from any of our native languages. It is Sheng, street slang in Nairobi. And I told you yesterday, all you need is pick your phone, call a young person, ask them what is the meaning of kaende kaende. And I told you the meaning is I don't care. Na liwe liwalo. Kusera kusera. And I recall telling you, because it is in the nature of Kawira to do these type of things. When I mean it is in her nature, I mean she can't help it. It's part of our chemistry. Unfortunately, we have human beings like those, and they are our beloved brothers and sisters. We can't get rid of them, but we can't allow them to be governor. We can't allow them. They are our beloved mothers, sisters and brothers. But the very reason chapter 6 of our Constitution and all these laws we've cited is an acknowledgement that not all of us can be a state officer. Some of us may be very intelligent, they may be very eloquent, They may have very good mobilization skills. As a matter of fact, they may be loved by the people. Barabbas was so loved that the people chose him over the Son of God. But it doesn't mean they are the right holders of certain offices. And if, by what I called in the last impeachment, that seemed to bring me into trouble with the Senate, an aberration of democracy. Mr. Speaker, Article 181 exists because the drafters of our Constitution, in their wisdom, realized democracy can produce aberrations, counterintuitive products. And governors like the one before you, I very humbly submit, Mr. Speaker, they are an aberration. They are not the type of product our democratic system of government was designed. And because the makers of our Constitution knew this sort of problem can arise from time to time, this august Senate and the County Assembly were given a counter-majoritarian power to remove state officers for violations such as those before you. I told you about Shaggy yesterday, and his song, It Wasn't Me. And true to my prediction, even though there are no prophets in my clan, the governor came here, and the common denominator was that it wasn't me. I haven't done a single thing. Luckily, Mr. Speaker, today, while cross-examining our own legal man, Dixon Monenen Kanata, we were able to show the Senate, not my words, but Section 30 of the County Governments Act, and we were able to demonstrate to you it is immaterial that the acts in question were not personally committed by the governor, because that section says the governor is responsible for those acts. Those are not my words. The section we read says the governor shall be accountable. Those are not my words. The word used in the statute is the governor shall be accountable. And why this defense cannot hold, Mr. Speaker, is you would be setting a very dangerous precedent. In fact, you will have guillotined and killed Chapter 6 and Article 181, because anyone who walks in our villages, in our streets of our cities, you don't need to be very knowledgeable to know senior state officers invariably act by instructing someone else. You rarely ever find a governor, a president, or whoever directly doing something personally. Yet our Constitution says they are accountable to Parliament in the case of the national government. They are accountable to the County Assembly. Those are the words of the law. Mr. Speaker, if you are to uphold this defense, it would mean no one would ever be impeached, because all you need to do is act through others. Luckily, Mr. Speaker, we also cited another law for you that expressly speaks to acting through others. And in short, all we are trying to tell you, Mr. Speaker, is that there is no valid defense to the charges against Governor Kawira Mwangaza. What she has done, which is what she has done all along, is to tell you, it wasn't me. Even if she was caught on camera, it wasn't me. Even if she was caught in various places, in Shaggy's song, the man engaging in hanky-panky is caught in the bathroom, on the sofa, and in yet another place, and it's all recorded, and his persistent reply is, "It wasn't me." We have shown you that defense is not available as a matter of plain law, but it is not also available as a matter of principle. I propose to leave it at that point, Mr. Speaker, to share the remaining minutes with my learned colleague, Mr. Muvenge Jacob Ngwele, who will take you to the specifics of what is the case we brought before you, what is the response to that case, what are the admissions the governor made at the county assembly, and when all that is done, we shall beseech you in the name of God, whether it is the Christian God or the God of the Nyambene and Mount Kenya hills that they are Meru worship before the current civilization, that the time to stop this madness in Meru has come. And if there is no reason, if we haven't proved or satisfied you, the governor is the bishop in the Holy Book. In the event we have not persuaded you on the evidence, Mr. Speaker, I hope we have persuaded, wherever the truth lies, there is an unsustainable crisis in Meru. And even if you must jettison one person to save the ship, called Meru County with the 1 million inhabitants, your act is still justifiable even under the Holy Book. I now cede the floor to Mr. Jacob Ngwele.
Just to remind you, Council, your time terminates at exactly 8:50.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. My name is Jacob Ngwele. I'm an advocate of the High Court. I've been given this onerous responsibility of taking the House through the evidence which has been submitted before the August House. Mr. Speaker, the Senate is sitting here pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, which provides for removal of a governor from office. The question which arises and which begs this House to look at, what is the standard which this House should apply on the evidence which has been submitted by the County Assembly of Meru? My learned colleague, my learned senior, Elisha Goya, when we started, he did inform the Senate that this House is sitting in quasi-judicial proceedings. I beg to differ. The test applicable when you're evaluating the evidence which has been submitted here has already been established by the Supreme Court in 2 cases. That is, the first one is the case of Wabora, and the other one is Mike Movie case, whereby the court was clear that impeachments are a tool of political accountability. Impeachments are not criminal, neither are they civil proceedings. And therefore, the standard, the applicable standard before this House has already been established that the burden of proof, the standard of proof, is slightly above that for civil cases, that is on a balance of probability, and below the beyond reasonable doubt. So this House is not evaluating the governor's criminal culpability, but it is subjecting the governor to political accountability. Political accountability for the actions of the office which she occupies and the deeds which she has undertaken throughout that period of time. It is our submission that the County Assembly of Meru has demonstrated and proved its case in accordance with the standards and tests which I've laid out by the Supreme Court in the decision. And I'll proceed to take this House through the specific violations which have been submitted. Mr. Speaker, the charge sheet before you has got 7 counts. And out of the 7 counts, those 7 counts consist 39 specific violations. And the first count, which of course is going to be read later on, is misappropriation and misuse of county resources. Article, I can't read the time.
You have 30 minutes.
Ah, good. Thank you. Article 181 of the Constitution provides the grounds which the governor can be impeached on. That is gross violation of the Constitution, gross violation of the laws, that is conviction, criminal conviction on breach of the national law. We do submit that on count number 1, that is misappropriation and misuse of county resources, this charge has been substantiated and proved. And I'll proceed to explain to this House or demonstrate to this House how this charge has been substantiated. When you look at the charges, we have drafted them that the governor has engaged or by connivance or complicity. So the governor is implicated either directly or indirectly. What my learned colleague Mr. Mudomi has said, that it's not about the you don't generate financial statement. We do submit that an argument has been raised here that no public funds was lost. But the County Assembly of Meru states that an opportunity was lost. Those who have done accounting or maybe economics, I think it is in economics, there's something called opportunity cost. The cost of not doing something. The cost of not doing something. That is the cost which was incurred by the County of Meru, and there was that violation of misrepresentation. The letter was addressed to the governor. The governor cannot run away, as my colleague Mr. Mudomi has said, and say it was not me. The letter was addressed to the governor. She minuted it to the officers, and the officers went ahead and misrepresented those members of the clique as county technical officials. The other violation in this particular count is the designation of Nefad Kinyua, who is a member of the clique. This is a clique which had access, power, and influence. And the clique involved the sisters, 2 sisters, and the brothers. It's a one which runs Meru today. So Nefad Kinyua, in order to reward him, when he was in a small job group without competitive process, and the governors admitted in cross-examination that his appointment was not sanctioned by the County Public Service Board. It has been admitted. Kinyua was appointed